Hello everyone and welcome to the Spring-Loaded Run Advanced Speedrun Guide. In this guide I'm going to show how to do the most complex strategies and teach you how to be able to pull these off more often so that you can put them into your runs and go for the lowest time you possibly can. If you have not watched the previous Spring-Loaded Run Speedrun Guide, I highly recommend that you go back and watch that first because I will not be going over sections of the stage that have not changed. In this stage, the main changes are that we are going to use a new strategy with these sticky rolling pins. We are going to be using 2 hits from the frog punching gloves in order to reach new heights and to cut out certain parts of the stage. I will also go over some parts that I do slightly different than what I did in the previous guide, just for sake of creating more consistency or making strategies a little easier. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. In my previous video, I stated that I'd like to jump from this blue arrow and then hit the rolling pin from the peak of my jump. I have switched this to using the hover instead, and then when the hover lasers get close to this last blue arrow, that's whenever I decide to punch with the glove in order to stick to this rolling pin. There is no difference in time between them, but I just find that using the lasers is a lot easier of a visual cue to look for, and at the same time I hit the frame perfect hit on this rolling pin a lot more consistently this way. Also, before going up the wall on this first rolling pin after you destroy the barrel, I actually swapped this from using the hover to actually using Astro Shadow. The main reason I do this is that you need to be at a certain height in order to get the correct height you need to pull off this first double hit on this rolling pin. So I like to jump when Astro's feet get close to this middle ring before the dot in the center. And whenever that happens, while he's in the air, I look at the head of his shadow, and whenever it reaches this outside ring, that is whenever I decide to punch, and that usually gets me pretty close to a frame perfect hit where I can hit it as early as possible. Lastly, after the slide and the trampoline, there are 2 barrels that we need to break. In my previous video, I said that I break both of them, but I have swapped to only breaking the first one and then landing on top of the second one. And this is mainly because whenever I jump, I actually look at Astro's shadow, and the moment it's going to disappear, I do a punch to grab onto this next rolling pin. And I find this a lot easier to more consistently get the frame perfect hit. And for the part everyone is most interested in, doing these double punches on these sticky rolling pins. There are 2 levels of these. There are the ones where we're going to be on top of the rolling pin and do another punch. These are a little easier to do. And then there are the ones where we need to immediately do a punch as soon as we come off of the rolling pin. These are much more difficult to pull off, but I will show you how to hit both of these and ways you can practice on hitting these more consistently. So let's start with the easier one. So with the easier one, we're only going to have to do this 2 times. On the rolling pin before the wall, and then the rolling pin at the very end. I would recommend start doing the one at the very end, for this is a lot easier to hit, and it can give you a better idea of what you need to look for. So for the one at the very end, there's a particular spot that we need to be in order for this to work. There is an easy way to do this trick and a more difficult way, so let me explain the easy way first and then the more difficult setup. One other important thing to note is that you cannot do this trick if you are on the very edge of the pogo or directly in the center of it. You need to move slightly closer to the middle from the edge and then do your punch and jump combination. So if you're going to use the easier method, here's what you need to know. Is you need to walk along this kind of stone edge on this platform here and then jump up and do a hover. And just as you're reaching this sticky rolling pin, you're going to need a punch with the left glove and jump soon after, so that way you get launched into the air. There are also 2 speeds to this pogo. There is a fast pogo and a slow pogo. The slow pogo is the normal pogo whenever you pull this trick off, and then the fast pogo is you'll notice that Astro immediately jumps as soon as he lands on it. So in order to hit this more consistently, what I like to do is that whenever I am hovering above it, if you notice, I actually hit the punch to stick to the pogo before I let go of the hover. I find doing this and then immediately jumping when I land on it more consistently gives me the fast pogo hit. If you want to try a more optimal last pogo trick, then all you need to do is you actually need to latch onto it whenever you jump from this little white square in the corner. And then what I like to do is I like to jump just as Astro passes that little white corner, and then I will punch whenever he has reached the top of his jump. This gives me a pretty good consistent timing to make sure that I am reaching it from max distance. After the swing, you will need to hold the joystick backwards toward the screen, and then you will need to do a punch with the glove and then a jump immediately, so that way you don't get stuck on it for too long, and then you can tilt it forward to get over this wall. The difference between these 2 strategies is roughly 6 frames or about 1/10 of a second. It's a good idea to go ahead and learn this method because you're going to need to know how to do it anyways just to get up the big wall in the middle of the stage. If you are in the correct spot and Astro is still swinging around the pogo and you're not getting the jump, this is one of two possibilities. If you do your punch and you swing back around the direction you came, that means that you are trying to time your punch a little too early, just delay your punch a little longer until it starts going through the pogo. If you do your punch as you come around and you just see that Astro punches toward the screen, that just means your punch was a little too late, so time it just a little bit before that. Once you are in the correct spot and you're doing the punch and it's going through the pogo and you are sticking to it, if you're not getting the pogo jump, this is one of other two possibilities. If the punch goes through the pogo but instead you swing back the direction you came, then what this means is that whenever you do the punch and jump and you start turning around, you're turning around too early. You need to come toward the screen a little more before turning around. If your punch goes through the pogo but doesn't stick and you still get a jump, then what this means is that you timed your jump a little too late. Once you do that, you're just going to use combinations of using your jump, the punching glove, a spin, punching glove, hover, punching glove, whatever you need to do to make it to the end here. And then you're just going to need to knock this big wall platform out of your way so you can get to the trampoline and then finish the stage. Once you master that one, the next one you're going to want to try to learn is the one before the wall. So what you want to do on this one is you want to use a punch to stick to it, and then you're going to want to hold your joystick backwards toward that rolling pin again, and then do the same thing once you get on top of it, hit your boxing glove punch, and then jump, and then get a launch into the air. This one will take a little more practice to get to because you're having to do two of these punches back to back, but just keep at it and then you will eventually start getting it down. Once you have mastered that one, the last ones you're going to want to learn are these two on the wall. These are the most important and will save you the most amount of time. When going for these wall pogos, your positioning is very important. So the two most important of these is the y-axis and the z-axis. The x-axis does matter, but not as much as these two. So most of my attention will be focused on these two. The y-axis obviously being how high or low you are, and the z-axis being how close or far away from the wall that you are. So whenever you get a pogo jump from this little pogo before the two on the wall, you need to do a small hover and then latch onto this first pogo on the wall. It is very important that you latch onto this at the lowest point, not only to get yourself a better swing around, but also it will save you the most amount of time by latching onto it as early as you possibly can. It does not matter whether you use the right or the left glove whenever you're latching onto this first pogo to swing around, but it will matter which one you use whenever you try to do the pogo jump on top of it. So I use the right glove first to swing and then the left glove to do the pogo jump, and so that's how I'll be teaching it. So the reason that I'm using the gloves in this order is that you can stay near the edge of the pogo, which is more optimal whenever you do it this way. So whenever you get on top of this pogo and you try to do the big pogo jump, make sure that you use the left glove instead of the right. If you use the right, then you will most likely not get the jump that you need out of it. So when you swing around, what you'll need to do is that you'll need to go just past the pogo a little bit and then turn Astro around, and then you will need to do a punch with the left glove and then a jump about 5 to 7 frames afterwards, and you will need to keep going that direction a little bit more before you turn around. If you turn around too early, just like with the other pogo, you will swing back around instead and the jump won't work. If you need more practice with this, you don't have to go all the way back to the bottom and try again. You can actually just jump off the right side of this pogo, latch onto it, and keep trying again until you get used to the feeling. Once you have mastered that, we'll need to do the last pogo on the wall, which is right above us. And the trick with this one is that you will need to do 2 immediate latch and releases on it. As you can see, once I get close enough, I do a latch onto it and Astro will immediately swing and let go from it. And then I will do another one which will allow Astro to swing and immediately let go from that same pogo again. The hardest part is getting the first one to land. If you can get the first one to land, getting the second one to land is actually a lot easier than it looks. The visual marker I like to use is a stone starfish on the wall in the background. When I get my pogo jump, I wait until Astro starts passing the very bottom of the starfish, and then I will punch with the right glove. Don't concern yourself too much with trying to get both of these. Just focus on getting the first one for now, and then once you start mastering the first one, then you can throw in the second one. If you are trying to latch onto this top pogo on the wall and you are not getting it, there are a couple of tell signs of what you are doing wrong. If you try to hit it and then you do not latch onto it at all, Astro just does a punch and misses it completely. This means that you are doing the punch too early. If you try to do it, but Astro instead latches onto it and kind of swings but doesn't get the instant swing and release that you're looking for, then this means that you're punching too late. Only whenever you get in between these two timings that you'll find that you'll get that instant hit and release. Once you have mastered the first one, just keep pushing Astro to the right and then use the second one. You need to use the second one about 8 to 10 frames after the first hit on that top pogo. Once you hit that second hit on the top pogo, just make sure that you point Astro forward immediately and then do a small hover to make sure that you get on top of this wall as quickly as you possibly can. The last change I want to talk about is after you go down the slide and latch onto this pogo, there's a trampoline at the bottom waiting for you. You want to go around the left side of it. This will save you a couple of frames compared to doing the previous method and trying to do the double punch pogo on the previous pogo you just swung from. The corner of this platform sticks out, so just make sure that you go left far enough that you don't run into it, but not so far left that you start losing time. One last thing I want to mention is that at the very beginning of the stage, if you watch the current world record run, they use a double punch on this pogo to get on top of the trampoline to bounce from it. The only reason they do this is to land directly on top of the trampoline so they can get on top of this ledge a little easier. You don't have to do this, and it's actually a little faster if you don't do this, but you need to make sure that you time your jump correctly so that way you hover above this trampoline and you can land on top of it. But if you want to add this trick into your run, all you need to do is that whenever you swing from this pogo, you need to hold the joystick back toward the pogo, do a punch with the opposite glove that you used to swing from it, and then you need to immediately push forward. This is a very precise timing, and it will take a lot of practice to get this down. And as always, here is a run of me using all of these strategies. Ugh, I cannot stand rolling around. Like, the controls just feel terrible. Like, the concept is cool, but man, I just did not like the controls for that one. Kind of noticed the wall there a little bit. Wasn't too bad, but it's gonna hurt my time. Woo! I hope you all enjoyed the video. I do apologize it took me so long to get this video out. Every single time I was getting close to finishing the video, new strategies would come out, better routes, faster routes, better strategies. And it just constantly put me behind every single time I was trying to get this video pushed out. As of right now, it seems like everything is kind of solidified in place. But if something new comes up that needs attention, then I will just do a shorter video of it and just try to capture that strategy alone. I hope that this video helped you, and I hope that it helped break down and clarify how we're doing these new tricks and make it a lot easier so that way anyone can learn how to do this. But if you still need additional help, you can feel free to join my Discord and let me know, and I'll try to help you out the best I can. Or you can join the astrobotSpeedrun.com Discord server where there are more people than just me who can help you out. So I hope that this video helped you learn a new trick so you can improve your times, and I will see you all in the next video. Good luck with your runs.